I have next to me here every book that I've published since 2014. The most recent one that I published is The Complete Musical Keys to the 88 Constellations. I basically made this book where, there's poems and there's the pictures of each of the constellations and it's all alphabetical. So I feel that this to me is basically like a galactic phone book, and it comes with an album of 88 songs that correspond to each of the 88 constellations and each of the 88 poems. The first part of the book has complete instructions on how you can also do this with any word in the English language. You can test it out with any word and it will produce a melody whether you're a musician or not. And basically by playing these particular chord structures, you're unlocking the doors with this musical key to these different constellations. And so if you're interested in extraterrestrials or communicating with other star systems and things, this is an invaluable book because it's basically a galactic phone book that helps you to tap into those connections. So that's my most recent book at the moment. Before that one, I released The Crown of Light, and these are no longer available. These were in two separate books. This took me almost a year to create these. It was a lot of work, and it's basically an encyclopedia of medicinal plants and elemental magic. The reason I'm no longer selling them is because there's just so much in there that's unrefined. So I basically kept all of my working in there, my whole process of how I get to these certain conclusions and find out these magical answers. The book before that one was Guide to Fairyland. This is probably my favorite book that I have published. This has everything about Fairyland that you could ever wish for. It has it's split into 5 parts, I think, and the first part is Beginner's Guide to Fairyland course is an 8-week course. Then you've got the 12-day course on clairvoyance, which follows that. Then you've got 22 fairy magic lessons, and that goes deep into more sort of witchcraft and actual magic, practical magic connected with fairies. And that also leads through every step of the way of how you can start to explore Fairyland, starts to explain all of the cities and all the things you find there. And then there's a smaller book, Mystery of the Primrose, in there, and then after that there's the fairy alphabet, so you can learn to write in the fairy alphabet, and then there's all of the different songs that I brought back from Fairyland with the chords and the lyrics and everything, so that's all in there as well. After that, you've also got these appendices which tell these different autobiographies and things of different people that are relevant to the fairy realms, and I also have some of the fairy map in there as well, and explaining how the map connects to each of my elemental volumes, which I'll go into in a moment. But this is one of the most important books that I've written, Guide to Fairyland. And before that book, I released the Book of Hermes, and this is a much smaller book. I think this was 2022, something like that. And this basically is visionary journeys that I had going into other dimensions and sort of meeting with Hermes as a deity, and the various things that he taught me about werewolves and portals and a lot of interesting locations in New Zealand. It's quite a fascinating book, and it's a very unique one. And depending on when you obtain it, if you get it from my website, sometimes I will also send an accompanying album with this too, about a 30-minute album or something about Hermes that I wrote at the same time as writing the book. So before the Book of Hermes, I also wrote each of my 4 elemental volumes of fire, air, water, and earth. So these are the ones that I've talked about probably the most online. This was basically outlining a 40-day journey that I took into the fairy realms through visions and trances, and I documented everything along the way. So each of these books represents 10 individual days spent in the fairy realms, and as I've mentioned, all of this was written a year or 2 before I found Bernard Slay's Ancient Map of Fairyland, and once I found that map, then everything I'd written in these books I was able to match up to all of the information that was shown on the map. So it was very confirming that everywhere I had been exploring and documenting as this traveler into their realms was very, very accurate. So these are very valuable, and I think that anyone who takes the time to go deep into them and also has a look at the map at the same time will learn a lot of secrets about fairy in this modern day that can help them to communicate and access fairies and fairyland. On my website, I also have a 40-day tour of the fairy realms, which is a 26-hour video series which goes deep into every one of these books. So if you have these books or you obtain them, or even if you don't have them, you can take the video series and I read out each of the chapters, and I go into my original drafts and everything, and I link it all up with the fairy map, and I show where everything belongs. In the Book of Water, I talk about a whole Undine alphabet that I teach, and this is its own divination system. It also helps you to understand the energy of all English words, or words that use English letters anywhere in any language. So there's very, very amazing information in here. There's a really amazing artwork in a lot of them. So yeah, these are some of my favorites for sure. And this one was a prototype, Keys to the Crystal Realms. I never published this looking like this. This was originally because I was going to be sending these out physically in the mail. It talks a lot about the deeper mysteries of these crystals and how to unlock them, and this is just the first issue about zircon, and you can still find this on my website, but it's a digital download because it became complicated to be sending these out from New Zealand. I think at the time of making this video, there's at least 2 issues on my website, one for zircon and the other for Tiger's Eye. They're very affordable to download as digital PDFs, and they give you really interesting information about those crystals. This one here is also a prototype of the Andromedan Empire. My girlfriend Aurelia did the artwork of this. I have never published these as physical copies, but I just wanted to have a copy for myself to sort of, get a sense for it. But this is what I channeled from Andromeda. These 3 Andromedan beings came through to me in 2017, and I wrote down everything that they told me, and it became this little booklet. And I later turned it into an audiobook, so you can actually find that on my website as well. And basically you can listen to it. So I read it out, and there's kind of spacey noises through it and everything at the same time, and it really sort of takes you on this journey, and it teaches you these different things that are actually very beneficial to this life, and how you can sort of deal with different complications in this life. So I really enjoy that, and Andromeda is also the first star system in my 88 Keys to the Constellations, so I go a little deeper into it in that book as well. And then the first book I ever officially published was Fairy Magic. So this was in 2019, and the first part of this book, I have a video series on YouTube right now that goes deep into the whole first part of this book, and it's connected up to the map, and I go deeper into the symbolism behind it. And basically this book was written before I had traveled the fairy cities one by one to make the elemental volume, so I was very, very new to it. I had communicated with fairies, and I was familiar with them. I'd drawn them down and got their music, I'd seen their lands, but I had never methodically gone through each of the cities, and I didn't know which order to do that in. But by the end of this book, it had revealed to me this information that enabled me to know that there was this particular formula of fire, air, water, earth, and that when I would follow that specific formula, I could experience fairyland in its complexity and in its completeness. And there's a lot of practical magic in this book, and a lot of information about dreams and astral travel and different techniques. Some of them very dangerous, and I'm going to be creating videos in the future to explain a little bit more about all of that, but it was my first book, and I think that there's a lot of really interesting information in here. There's also information that I'm speculating about how we might be able to communicate with fairies through a very physical-like way, where you can actually see their influence over the air currents and create these kind of communication devices and things like that. But yeah, it's a lot of interesting information in here. And yeah, and then finally the last 3 are the Divine Union series, and these are very rare. I sell them for quite a bit. They're hardcover, and I think between all 3 of them it's about 1,400 pages. I was recommended by a friend at the time, just write things down, just write what you're doing down, write what you're thinking down. And I thought, let me just try this for a year. And I didn't always, manage to write down every single day, but I did for most of the days, and I just decided I would write everything I was thinking down and everything that I was experiencing. And I had no idea that within the very first day of writing something down, I would have this supernatural experience where I was hearing this tapping, ticking clock in the room, and I was trying to figure out what is this. And so within the first few days, it's basically me trying to figure out what this tapping sound is in my room, and then I travel 2 or 3 hours south and I stay there for the night, and then the tapping follows me, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And and so that's where it all starts, and as it continues to progress, it becomes this whole experience of an actual spirit coming through and communicating with me, who later it turned out to be a being that was here in the 1800s by the name of Anna Kingsford, who I later found out was very connected to fairyland and actually came from fairyland.